Welcome to the AI Adoption Podcast. I'm your host, Professor Ashley Braganza. And in this episode, I want to investigate agentic AI. And I'm very pleased to welcome Zahra Bahrololoumi, the Chief Executive of Salesforce UK and Ireland, and that includes Agentforce. And Salesforce have been one of the key proponents of both developing and commercializing agentic AI. And with Zahra, I want to investigate not just what the opportunities are, but also what the risks are. And I know that in talking to Zahra and more widely across the industry, the impact of agentic AI on jobs is of particular concern. And Zahra will talk us through some of the implications of agentic AI on not just jobs that are being created, but also jobs that may well be lost. And Zahra is also very concerned about the digital divide and will explore together the impact of AI agents on the digital divide. Zahra, welcome to the AI Adoption Podcast. It's a pleasure having you here, and thank you so much for joining. I wonder whether you could tell the audience a little bit about you, a little bit about Salesforce and Agentforce, please.
Of course I can. Well, first of all, Ashley, thank you so much for having me. And I have been really looking forward to our discussion. And as you reference, I'm Zahra Bahrololoumi. I'm the CEO of Salesforce for the UK and Ireland. And for those that don't know Salesforce, we're a global leader in AI, customer relationship management and enterprise software, including, of course, our most recent addition, Agentforce, which is our innovative agentic AI platform. It is, for those that don't know agentic, I mean, we'll obviously get into that later, but of course, it is our agentic element of the Salesforce platform, and it's used for deploying autonomous AI agents across any business function and any workflow. And really, when we get into the topic around agentic, it's, ushering in a new world of digital labor where businesses can scale and transform their workforce vastly. Very excited by it. And of course, AI is in our lifeblood, given that we've just actually, I must say, Ashley, we've launched, and you'll know this, really proud, I have to plug it, we chose London to be our first ever AI centre globally off the back of so much investment. We pledged 4 billion investment into the UK, and we continue to invest in AI ventures. So that's a bit about us.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And yes, I visited the Centre for AI, and it's hugely impressive, and very much looking forward to working together. Zahra, you've already used some terms, and I'm going to ask you to explain for non-technical people, when we talk about AI agents and agentic AI, just in
what do we mean?
Simplistic languages, for non-technical people like me, what does it mean?
Yes, well, I think, look, it's and being someone who didn't study anything related to technology, I appreciate the question as well. So thank you for asking it in that way. Look, everyone has heard, most people will have heard the buzzword agentic. I hope almost everybody has heard the reference to AI. And we're in this era of a new wave of AI. And so just to be able to explain agentic, I'll just go back very briefly. And what do I mean? First, we had, and purists will disagree with me, but let's just say for argument's sake, first we had predictive artificial intelligence, and that really identifies patterns to predict behavior and forecast future events. Then we moved into what's known as the generative AI era, and that really saw artificial intelligence generating content and ideas, and that really did set a new record for how AI was adopted. And I think, just again, put that into context, if mobile phones took 16 years to reach 100 million users, and the internet took, 7 years to reach 100 million users. A tool like ChatGPT, which is referred to as generative
Yeah.
AI, that shattered records by hitting that milestone in only 2 months. So 100 million users, 2 months. The scale of adoption is fast. So now we're in the era of agentic artificial intelligence, and that comes with it a 6 trillion digital labor opportunity, if you believe the numbers. But what that really means is artificial intelligence that can understand, act, decide, and respond to queries without human intervention, without human hand-holding, or the phrase people might have heard, human in the loop. How do we create them? Well, we create them in an agent builder like Agentforce, our platform.
Hmm.
And we rely on machine learning and natural language processing to handle a wide range of tasks. And some people might think, well, how is that different from chatbots or co-pilot?
Yeah.
Everyone will have heard
Yes.
the term co-pilot. Well, chatbots and co-pilots tend to be quite deterministic. They're rigid, and they can offer tailored assistance for specific tasks, often with predetermined outcomes or routes. AI agents, they're intelligent, they're dynamic, and they go beyond static responses by autonomously, making decisions and taking action based on real-time insights and context. And so when more complicated or high-touch issues arise, it can escalate to a human worker based on the parameters that it might be configured or set up with by any company. So, for example, in a bank, if an agent detects they're dealing with a vulnerable customer, then the bank will decide and set up the agent to ensure that it always routes to a human in that case. So I think
Okay.
there's always a guardrail you can put in there. So these intelligent agents, they resolve complex issues, they can multitask, and kind of the application of them will be things like, customer use cases, qualifying sales leads, optimizing marketing campaigns, and really help organizations scale a workforce to do repetitive tasks so that their people can be freed up to do more high value work. So it's really changing how we will work and how we are working today.
Yeah, and I was wondering, given the nature of this new wave of AI technologies, I mean, what are the opportunities here for organizations?
I mean, look, the organizations, every executive I speak to, they're so excited, they're laser focused on AI. It really is a top to bottom theme and focus area. And really kind of what if you imagine a value tree of any organization, my top line and my bottom line, the
Yeah.
opportunity for agentic is applicable to both, growth, the growth agenda, enhancing customer experiences, as well as efficiency gains and taking cost out and optimizing processes and simplifying and automating. And so organizations are starting to see, well, I say start, they already see
Hmm.
the potential where AI can act autonomously to provide, instant and accurate and helpful conversations and experiences. And, it's really improving kind of productivity, growth, and adaptability. And let's face it, when we look at the UK, we've got a volatile environment, costs, whichever way you look at it, there's a cost pressure. There are, supply chain challenges, there's energy security challenges. Everybody's looking to take costs out without compromising, customer experience. And where we've seen this, I mean, just to bring some examples kind of closer to home, if you take something like Capita, an organization like Capita, one of the largest outsourcers,
Yes.
in the country, with Agentforce, Capita will transform its recruitment process because it recruits on behalf of large scale organizations, whether it be the army, the military, the government, the NHS, and it will enable candidates to complete the entire recruitment process journey within days, as opposed to what has historically taken weeks. and with a higher quality output. And so I think that's hugely helpful for, you know, public sector, for example, where the surge is necessary, or Heathrow Airport, for example, using Agentic to help, you know, passengers have a smoother and more seamless experience being navigated and guided through, you know, a large airport, whether it's a gate or, you know, a shop or a service that they need. And in our own organization, again, just to keep it close to home and bring it to life, we use Agentforce across our own value chain, our own processes, our sales processes, within our service capability, within our business technology stack, and even just on our help desk, where we receive, you know, 60 million, you know, queries a year. You know, we now are seeing in the period of time we've had it up, 84% resolution. 84% resolution of complex queries without human intervention. That's incredibly freeing for our teams, where our capacity, you know, is never finite, and we've got so much innovation. So we're able to redeploy, you know, some of those folks. We have an AI-powered internal marketplace for our talent called Career Connect, and that helps our own employees, you know, determine and gain, you know, what new experiences they need, and then acquire them, and help them with their kind of career path. So you really can apply it to, you know, across an enterprise, across an organization.
And it looks like you can do it across different sectors as well.
Absolutely.
And I guess that there are lots of opportunities, and that's becoming very clear, certainly from not just what you've said, but clearly from speaking to colleagues within Salesforce, and for me finding out more about Agentforce and agentic AI over these last few months. But Zahra, from your perspective, what are some of the downsides? What are some of the risks that agentic AI poses?
Well, I think, look, it does come with risk. Everything with large opportunity also has a risk that needs to be managed and carefully considered and mitigated. And I also think it requires a mindset shift, for one to be able to understand and think about the risk. So, you know, for example, you know, when I think about kind of the framing or the mindset we all need to get into. When I was at Brunel many years ago, you know, I remember being enraptured with one of the modules I did, which was, I think, was organizational design, and in there I looked at organizational culture and, you know, a lot of the principles around that. Now, you know, I will be one of the last leaders to know what it is to lead a human-only workforce. And when we think about culture and how to drive productivity and how to have a successful organization, you know, I also now have to think about not just human capital, but digital capital, and think about the interoperability and how to get the most out of both, you know, side by side. I think, look, like any technology, you know, it's not necessarily the technology that is risky or challenging. It's how we employ, how we deploy, how we engage with it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, first and foremost, AI is, you know, and certainly we believe it's designed to help humans. It's designed to augment humans, make our lives faster, easier, better, more, you know, more valuable, and able to deploy our resources, our human resources, to higher value stuff. So I think it can make, you know, I'm all for it. I'm very optimistic. I think it can make our working lives much more seamless. I think we can create, you know, better standards. A bank, for example, in the scenario that I used earlier on, can utilize AI to ensure that they have a uniformity of interactions with their customers, to ensure they don't violate consumer duty regulation, and, you know, and customers don't come to any harm. Or patient service agents can route and schedule appointments much faster. So, you know, we can say goodbye to those awful, you know, awful, stressful 8 a.m. calls trying to get a GP appointment. You know, Agentic can triage and help route and get the people that need appointments really quickly. But that said, you know, it's acting on our behalf. So you can't just hand over the keys to the kingdom and expect it to know everything it needs to do safely on your behalf or on a company's behalf. It has to have guardrails, and you know, we have to take accountability for ensuring that the right guardrails are in place, so that we can contain actions that it takes on our behalf to ensure responsible, safe, accurate and trustworthy AI from the start. So we can't just, without thinking, deploy it. We really have to think through. And so we, at Salesforce, trust is our number one value. You'll hear that over and over again with every Salesforce individual that you ever encounter. And, that's driven by our core values. And I think, we have put that at the heart of how we've innovated with AI. And so, our agents have been built with, a backlog, I would say, years and years and years of kind of safeguards and trust protocols and, tried and tested processes that we built into the platform. So, for example, every Agentforce interaction runs through what we call the Einstein Trust Layer. So, the trust layer is essentially kind of surrounds the data that informs. The easiest way to think about it is all AI needs data. That data is sourced somewhere, processed somewhere. Our data platform has a trust filter. A trust layer is the conceptual way to think about it. And this, protects the privacy and security of customer data. So whenever it's interacting with the agent and the agent is interacting with, conceptually a large language model, no personal data will be sent in or part of that process. It's masked, so that it's filtered and masked. So I think that helps us ensure, safe and responsible utilization of that data. And it also has the best way to describe it is, toxicity detection. It has a filter for toxicity and for bias. And we're really careful to ensure that there's an audit trail to track an AI agent action, so they're not unfettered. We can always assess and evaluate inputs and outputs, I think is the key way to describe it. And we manage that risk because we've also been very thoughtful about how our technology is used. And so way before the agentic era, kind of in the mid-2018, we created the Office of Ethical and Humane Use to really look at how our technology is used, what principles we should continue to develop, how it gets implemented. And we also look at, and we've created a framework for assessing the energy score of AI because, it's very energy intensive. So, we've standardized a framework for measuring and comparing, AI model efficiency. We test our own models in centres where we know that is the most environmentally friendly. It's based on renewable energy, and we pick the particular time windows for efficiency. We optimize the code so it's not overly intensive or verbose. So we have to think about everything when we think about AI. We can't just hand it over and go, right, off you go, and expect it to work beautifully.
I mean, what you've described is some really strong approaches and guardrails that have been put in internally, but it then relies on organizations to use agentic AI in ways that are responsible and trustworthy. How do you think organizations should go about doing that?
Well, I think the first, again, back to a mindset shift, is we have to consider AI to be a vital tool within our workforce. And it's not designed to displace, it is designed to augment. And I think we've got to think about how do we organize our skills development, our processes to consider and factor AI, agents and humans, driving success and productivity together. And you're right about this, to be thoughtful about it, because we've done some research, and our recent research shows that CHROs really do plan to reskill and redeploy their employees to work alongside agents. So I think we've got a corporate responsibility and we've got an individual responsibility to embrace it. And I think when we look at some of the stats, those same CHROs believe that within the next 5 years, most workforces will have, a combined capability, and many believe that it will help them, to reassign employees and develop their career paths in other ways. And I think people are very thoughtful about kind of the skills that they need to acquire and embed and equip, their workforces to be ready for this. The other thing I would say is that we will see some new roles that we've never imagined before. So there'll be new opportunities, and so if we think about some of these things, they could be a prompt engineer. The quality of the output that you get from an agent relies on the quality of the prompt that it is fed. So increasingly, sources of competitive advantage will be the prompts that are fed to the agent. So I think prompt engineering, will be a discipline that we will all see. We'll see, the need for AI auditors. I talked about the audit trail, where AI will make decisions, really important decisions. Maybe it's an insurance decision or a healthcare decision or a mortgage decision. It will be important to have an audit assessment to ensure that things are fair and just. So I think, AI data auditor, an AI ethicist, we've got our Office of Ethical Humane Use, interaction designer. I always say that the competitive advantage will be, how do we codify charm? How charming will our agents be to encourage more and more usage in a way that is friendly and not threatening. And then, of course, classic disciplines like solution architects, we will still, of course, need those. So I think if we believe the IDC prediction, and I think they've always been very, very fair and accurate, AI, fueled by AI innovation, we expect to see some 500,000 jobs in the UK created by 2028. So we have to be embracing of it rather than love it.
Because clearly one of the big worries and the big concerns that people have is the effect that AI is going to have on jobs. You've talked about jobs being created and some new roles being created, but to what extent do you think there are going to be job losses, and to any thoughts in terms of how companies can manage that that transition?
Yeah. Well, look, as with every breakthrough, revolution, new innovation, there will be some jobs that will be displaced. But as I referred to earlier, there'll be many jobs that will be created, and I think the balance for us is, what does that equation look like, and will there be an imbalance at any point in time that is a disadvantage, certainly for our economy. But I guess what we must all do, what every organization must do, is lean in to learn. I think it's the most important skill set of our time right now. And when we, again, continuing our research, when we look, our research shows only 1 in 10 workers in the UK feel that they are equipped with these in-demand skills. And so the need to drive the preparedness is urgent. It really is urgent. And I think we must help. We must show the way in terms of how humans and AIs can work together. The faster employers can offer AI training and upskilling programs, the more potential, they can the more ability they have to mitigate the job losses. So, for example, I have an engineering team. I have customers that have engineering teams, and those customers now, some of them will only hire engineers that will work with AI, that can code with AI, right? So everybody must think about that combination is ultimately the human advantage. And I think we take that very seriously at Salesforce. We have a free online learning platform called Trailhead. It is a free capability. It offers thousands and thousands and thousands of what we call trails. It's digestible, it's accessible, it's gamified, so it's fun. And I think in the context of AI, because it's fun. Frankly, it's you kind of need that engagement. I talk about charm, the charm, codifying charm. And we've got over 35 AI and data courses to help everybody acquire, foundational skills. you've been to our AI Centre. Our AI Centre offers training. We've had more than 5,000 people through there attending training or immersion sessions or workshops since we opened it in June. And most recently we hosted a 4-day program with 130 students from Ada College, who are conducting research on AI literacy. So, I really, if there's one thing that I am a thorn in everybody's side, I'm imploring government and businesses and education to kind of work together. I mean, first of all, I want the government to establish a national online digital skills platform, a one-stop shop to tackle the digital skills crisis. I describe it as a crisis. It is a crisis because I say so. No. I see it. I see it. In all of my customer interactions every day. So I do believe that all stakeholders need to come together so that we can collectively, upskill and I think reduce, what will be an AI digital divide.
And quite frankly, from the research I've done, that digital divide is I think a crisis. I agree with you, because as the technology moves on, so if people don't keep up with it, it's not just the gap that gets bigger, but the numbers of people, the sections of society that then get left behind are also that's just continuing to grow. And in the world where we are with an aging population, we need everyone to kind of keep up, and that gap just can't continue to grow. It has to narrow. So some kind of platform would be very, very useful. But because I think there is a concern that as these technologies kind of start getting embedded in organizations, that digital divide is actually going to increase. So what do you think companies and policymakers should do?
Well, I think I could honestly go on forever about this, but I won't. I think, look, I go back to a national strategy that we need. What are we? Just the basics. And again, I'll just keep it very simple. We need a national strategy for our skills. We know what's coming. We've got enough brain power. We've got enough brilliant organizations, and I speak very fondly of my competitors. We've got very large representation of the biggest technology companies in the world in the UK. We've got AWS here, brilliant partners. We've got Google here. We've got DeepMind. We've got a Microsoft. I speak confidently on their behalf, perhaps, to say that I think we've all got insight. We've all got, we can voice of the customer, so we know kind of where our customer base is headed and what they need to do. We've got the resources and the equipment and the training capability, and this is one area that we all passionately align on and believe in, and we could converge to make access to us easier. And actually a policy and a strategy around what do we want to be famous for in the UK would be a great start. And what are the pockets of skills that we think we would place a premium on? Do we want to be the best, cyber talented organized economy in the world? Do we want to be the best data specialist? We can pick the key things, and I don't think we have to think too hard. And then we can align all stakeholders, whether it be education and government entities and businesses and communities and NGOs, all around these themes, and we will all invest. It's not like there's a lack of willing to lean in and participate. So even just a good start point around a strategy would be a great place to start. And then a common platform.
It is about having a clear strategy and policymakers focused on putting that strategy in place. If I were to, this slightly unfair question, but I'll ask it anyway. If I were to lift and shift you out of this podcast right now and put you into a boardroom, and the board turned to you and said, what should we prioritize because we want to implement agentic AI? What would be your top tips in terms of what that board should do to implement agentic AI?
Yeah, just you've created a new phrase. I think this is really good. I am in boardrooms often,
Yes.
and so of all of the technological waves, and in my nearly 30 years of working, this is the first I've ever seen of just such board pull. This is the first topic I've seen where there's been an immense
Yes.
board pull. So it is a board level point. It is a board level kind of worry point. It's a board level kind of opportunity. And I guess there are probably four areas that I would encourage, and I do encourage
Right.
every kind of board to think about. I think this is not a transition. This is a wholesale or full scale transformation, and
Yes.
I think the winners. The winning organizations will be ones that are very thoughtful and can think about data. So now is I see it everywhere, a mad scramble to get data organized. Again, you will only get the benefit from
Yes.
AI if your data is in order. And so, understanding where it is, how it's accessed, how do we make sure that there are guardrails to maintain data access, privacy, integrity, controls? They need to really think about getting true value out of AI means that has access to trusted and grounded data to achieve, the maximum benefit. The second thing I think is the organizational transformation. It is fascinating. I see a divide between customers that are thinking, okay, I need to rethink everything. I want you to blow up every process. I want you to design, what process does this lead us to, as opposed to, can you please overly customize and retrofit to how I do it today, because that's what I know. So, organizational process redesign, I think is really, really important. The third one is people. Don't throw out the people in pursuit of AI. Making sure that there is a strategy to integrate the capabilities thoughtfully. And that does require a redesign of roles. It requires a training plan and ability to redeploy fast, and rebalancing the talent, and also thinking about what roles you will need in the new organization and the new processes. And the last thing I would say is really having a strategy for strengthening ethics and governance within the framework of how you want to operate. And I think I see it, I would say over half of the I'd hazard a guess that half of business in the UK today probably don't have clear policies in place around AI beyond the basic, thou shalt not use ChatGPT for.
Yes.
I mean,
Which employees are doing anyway.
which employees are doing anyway, right? So I think that needs careful consideration and working through. And I think it's not something that's just bolted in. It is an opportunity to rethink everything. And I see the most progressive CEOs doing that, embracing the technology and doing very well.
I've heard that Mark Benioff, the global CEO and chairman of Salesforce, has said that this kind of generation of CEOs, and you kind of alluded to this almost at the start of the conversation that we've had, is that this is probably the last generation of CEOs that's going to manage a people-only organization. I mean, what are your thoughts? How do boards start to prepare to manage these teams that are kind of human and AI, or human and virtual? What do boards? How do boards even begin to get their heads around this?
I think one thing they need to do is see something, and what I mean by that is, we've launched something called Omni Supervisor. Okay, so one of our products, and I'm going to go to a very basic use case just to illustrate the point, but I think one needs to see it to then spark the thoughts that are required for it. So we have a product called Service Cloud. So it is a product that enables all the contact centers and to enable customers to manage their servicing needs. So you call a call center, chances are that human agent will be using Service Cloud to look at your case, to look at your history, to pull up the data, to make sure that they've got the right and relevant information about you to give you a truly personalized experience and to resolve your challenge or query or whatever it might be, or to provide help. And that call center is, they're typically vast call centers, multiple locations, and they're measured on things like average call handling time and did they resolve queries quickly, and there's a queuing system, and it's really buzzy and busy. Omni Supervisor now allows a contact center manager to see their human agents' productivity alongside their digital agents' productivity in real time. So let that be a metaphor for how we will have to think about our organization. So I will be able to see, let's say I've got 500 agents that are human, and I've got maybe 5 agents that are agentic, working or tailored for specific products. Let's say I've got a Service Cloud agent dealing with Service Cloud queries, a Marketing Cloud agent, and my help desk. The ability to see productivity in real time, to be able to respond to surges. Let's say there's a product failure. Let's say I'm a car manufacturer and I've suddenly got a recall notice on a particular car, and there's a surge in queries. I can redirect my agents in real time. I can probably redirect my human agents, but I can maybe spin up agents to deal with that in real time and surge that capacity. The reason I say that is every board member, nobody's too senior to see that use case.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be humble enough to look at that and think, my whole future needs to be able to see the productivity and output of my human workforce alongside my productivity and output of my digital workforce, and be able to dynamically allocate based on my need at that point in time. So I just, alongside the themes I just said, every board to prepare for this needs to think about, is their data in order? Have they got the right people? Are they skilled enough? Is the ethics and governance framework in place? Is my exec team thinking in the right way about how to transform processes rather than just bolt stuff on? That's what they should be thinking about to prepare. But everybody needs to see how how brilliant and how shocking this insight is, this single pane. And if a CEO today, that's what I want to see out of my, workforce and output that I'm creating.
Zahra, thank you so much for joining the AI Adoption Podcast. This has been a fascinating insight into agentic AI, and really huge insights into kind of what the direction of travel is for organizations, both public sector and private sector.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining the AI Adoption Podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.